Greetings. Today I'm going to talk about trolls and how we can deal with them so that they're just leaving us alone and they're not messing with our online social media life. I can't think of anybody except for trolls who wouldn't enjoy this content, so that's what we're aiming for today. And just so you know, I'm probably going to be drinking a little bit of water because my throat is a little phlegmy, which is kind of nasty to say, but that's the truth. So here you know, every once in a while, I'll probably have a drink. So I'm going to be talking about Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, and the site I'm going to start with, which is called Flipboard. Now, Flipboard is basically a news aggregator, and you can get it on Android, you can get it on iPhone, you can actually get it on the computer if you want to, on your desktop. And basically you sign up for it, and then you have the option to pick through a few topics that they say, okay, these are the ones we're going to highlight. This is me saying it for them, by the way, but they'll have topics. You can sign in for those, and then they will try to get you more content based on those choices that you've picked. But they're still going to give you a whole bunch of other things that you didn't pick, and over time it's going to try to figure out what it thinks you're going to be geared towards. This is just how it works. So either Sunday or Monday, because I can't remember which day, I was doing my thing, going through it on my phone, and I came across an article that had to do with a diversity topic. Now, you get to create your own, basically, channels, I guess I'll call them right now, where if you come across something and you want to save it, so either you can go read it later on or you want to share it with other people because people can decide to follow you here and there, then you can put that stuff in those particular areas, and other people will subscribe to your feed, which is really weird, but still they can do that, and then they can see what you're putting in based on topics they want to read. So I saw this article, and it was a diversity thing, you know, this black woman who had been treated badly in a restaurant, and I said, you know what, I've had to deal with things like that, not necessarily in a restaurant, but in my life. So I put it in the diversity area. And then I went about my business, not necessarily thinking about anything. And then I noticed that I had 3 comments on it. I said, really? So I went to look, and they were all negative comments. I said, whoa, that's never happened before. And initially I was going to ignore it, but then more comments kept coming. So I go in and I look and I decide, okay, I'm going to respond to some of these because they're getting on my nerve. And even though I responded to them nicely, not with the same vitriol they had, that just seemed to generate more. Now, at a certain point, there were people who agreed with the article and they stood up, but it was just this battle. And I was getting really irked about it. And then I said, wait a minute. Why am I responding to trolls? I don't usually respond to trolls. And I think I was doing it because it's the first time that I've ever had to deal with a troll on Flipboard. And I've been on Flipboard maybe since 2012 or 2013, so I've been on there a good long time. And I've never had to deal with a troll. I've had someone who may have disagreed with something I said elsewhere, but it wasn't a troll. It was just a person with a differing opinion. That's always acceptable. I can deal with that. But trolls, because I started thinking about it, I said, wait a minute. The name of this group of mine is diversity. And these are trolls who are coming in and going against it. Basically, it means they're not there for a discussion. They're just there to start trouble. And then I looked at their names that they use because you don't have to use your real name. And I said, oh my goodness, of course they're trolls. What's wrong with me? And, you know, you have to learn how not to respond to stuff. But Flipboard, which I'm starting with, is the only social media thing that I have where you can't block anybody. You can't report anybody. The best thing you can do, or the only thing you can do, is not respond to them. So I stopped responding, and after a couple of hours it just died down. You know, people were fighting with each other there for a while, but then it just died down, and there's been no activity on it ever since. That's normally the best way to kind of handle trolls, but there are other ways that you can handle trolls on other social media platforms. For instance, let's talk about YouTube, because I like being on YouTube, and I like to go every once in a while, I comment on someone else's video, and of course I like to get comments on mine. But no one wants to deal with trolls. And I've had a couple who have tried to get on my site and failed miserably. And and it's been funny because when a troll realizes they can't get on the site, they just lose their mind and they just keep trying. And what happens is you get this notification when you go look at comments on your dashboard where they're in the blocked area, and it totally blocks them so they can't get to the site. You have to approve them. Who would approve a troll? And if they try to use any bad words, inappropriate language is how YouTube calls it, it erases that also. So, you know, I know some people who hate the fact that YouTube can do that or will do that. I ain't one of those people because I don't want to deal with it. I may not have 1,000 people yet, but one day I'm going to hope to be there and even have more. And I don't want to have to deal with those people. They have nothing to do with my life. So I'm looking for more peace in my life. So one of the things that I recommend anyone does if you have a YouTube channel is you change the setting when you upload your video where it will block inappropriate behavior or language. And that's a good thing. I mean, I have put up a video saying I've never cussed in my life, which I never have, but that's not really the point. The point is that you have other people coming. And for the most part, I would probably say maybe 99% of us who are putting something up don't want that kind of garbage coming up on our site. Someone like Philip DeFranco might love that, but he's got like 6 million followers, and he uses the same language in his videos when he's doing it, so he can't really complain. I can complain. That's not really the audience that I'm aiming for. I'm not going to get those folks. I might get them every once in a while, but if YouTube censors them, you can't be mad at me, and they'll know YouTube censored them because it happens before I even get to it. So there you go. That's the first one. The second thing with YouTube is you can block people from your channel. And I've done that on occasion. There are some people who basically they come to your site and they put something stupid on it. It's not bad language, so YouTube doesn't block it. But you're looking at it and saying, what is that? That doesn't make any sense. I have no real idea what that is. And sometimes I go look at their channel, or sometimes I just say, nah, don't want it. And I block them. And YouTube gives you the option of either blocking someone or muting someone. The thing about blocking someone is they can't ever get back on your channel again, and they never know it. Because most people, if you comment on something, you don't realize, unless someone responds back to you, or unless it's a channel that you follow all the time, you don't know that people have done anything to you. So those folks, they don't really care about your channel. So I block people, I block channels, and I'm good with it. And the last thing for YouTube is don't respond to negative comments that you might leave on another video. And this has not happened a lot of times, but it's happened here and there. And it's on weird stuff. I mean, Harry Potter videos, people talking about Harry Potter stuff. And I'll get on there, I read the books, every book, 3 times a year at least. I watch every movie at least 3 times every year. I've been watching a lot of videos lately. It's people's reactions to different Harry Potter movies. And for whatever reason, I've been watching that, and I'm fascinated by that because a lot of times I only get to watch the movies at a theater with one other person. So it just feels like I'm watching these with a lot of other folks. And so sometimes I comment on it, and because someone hasn't read the book, they want to debate me on stuff, which is fine. But then when they get really verbose and just kind of angry, and I can tell, okay, y'all aren't trying to block any inappropriate language, whatever, then it says, you know what, it's time to stop reacting to it. I put it out there. I told them where I got it from. They don't like it. They think I'm trying to be an elitist because here I am talking about what's in the book, which is what the movies are based off of. You go on with it. So you just don't respond to any negative comments on a video, on someone else's video. Just don't respond to it. Now let's go to Twitter. Twitter, I have the most things you can do with Twitter. The first thing y'all need to think about is to go into Twitter and block words or block certain names of certain people or block certain hashtags that you don't want to see. So for instance, I don't necessarily have to block a lot of bad language. I don't really care about that there. However, what I do block are names of a whole bunch of conservative people who I don't want to hear about. I block a lot of religious stuff because I'm atheist. I don't necessarily need to see all that. If I see a certain term that's going around on the news for a while, I will block that. Back in, I think, was it 2015 or so, I started blocking the word deplorable, where all these people were saying all this bad stuff about Hillary Clinton. It was just everywhere in my feed. So I block a ton of stuff. I block a lot of words. I block those types of people. Like Mitch McConnell, for instance, he's blocked. Ted Cruz, blocked. I never see any of those names. So if someone else mentions that full name, it never shows up if they're responding to something, because I will share certain information that I find on Flipboard and decide I want to share it with my audience. But I always put in, what do you call those things? The little star things, not asterisk, or maybe they are asterisks. Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Right now I'm having I'm 62. I have blocks every once in a while. But I put those things in there, so I may have the first letter and the last letter, but in the middle, I put the little asterisk so that I'm not sharing the name. Someone else may say it, but if they're responding directly to me, I'm never going to see it. I don't tell them I didn't see it. I just say, it's blocked. I have it blocked on Twitter, but I also have it blocked on the app that I use on my computer and the different app that I use on my phone and tablet. So I block that. I block bots, and that seems like a strange thing to do because there are actually some bots that are retweeting my stuff. But if I go and look at a bot, and it's pretty easy to tell if it's a bot, but you can go look up the account. And if they're only following one or two people, but they've got like 100,000 tweets out there or retweets, it's a bot. That basically tells me, okay, ain't nobody here read my article. They don't really care. They just saw a topic and decided to send it out to whomever, to the world. I don't want to deal with it. Back over 10 years ago, there was an article online where it talked about there's a lot of blather on Twitter, a lot of, inconsequential stuff. That was back in the days where people would say, yep, just woke up, had a cup of coffee. I'm getting ready to go over and get myself an egg sandwich, because people back then really didn't know what to do about Twitter. We didn't want to read all that, but maybe they had their friends who they were talking to who did want to read it. So I blocked the bots. I have been known to mute certain people who I'm not in the mood to totally dismiss, but I keep them. There's not a lot of those, by the way, but there are times where maybe there's someone who gets on to something that's just really driving them crazy, and that's the only thing they talk about all the time. We have that with our own friends. Well, okay, I don't have it so much, but I've had it in the past where they just focus on something that's all they want to talk about for the longest while. Well, I know that that's not going to last forever, so I'll mute them. And then you don't see anything that they post for a while. They don't know that you've muted them. Now, if they can write you directly, and just write you directly, you will still see something. But for the most part, you don't see anything that they post. That works pretty well for me. A recommendation: don't follow people just because they followed you. Now, there's a whole lot of people telling you how you can grow your Twitter channel by following everybody. That's a waste of time. There's a lot of people who I disagree with who follow me because they say something that I posted that they like. I'm not following any of those people. There's a lot of people I agree with who I don't follow because they're a little over the top, as opposed to me. I have my moments where I want to share something, but it's not my thing all the time. For instance, I talk about racism and whatever, but I don't talk about it all the time. It's just if something comes up, if I write about it, I'll share it, but that's not my only focus. I got a lot of things to work on. I got a lot of interest. So I don't just sit on that one thing. So that's a recommendation. And here's the last one. And this really should apply to everything. Social media, your personal life. Don't get caught up in someone else's drama. That's just a reality. You almost never win that. Now, I did win once back in 2009 where this guy, I'm not even going to mention his name, but this guy went after a friend of mine who, back then we were both, doing a lot of blogging. Now he's not doing as much blogging, but still we were doing it. And this guy decided to try to come after him on his blog. and I wasn't having it. So I went after him, and I wrote this really long thing. And then he tried to come back and apologize. I said, no, don't apologize to me because I'm done with you. You apologize to him. And then my friend decided he didn't want to deal with him either, so he blocked him from the site. And he's still around on Twitter. Other people are promoting him. I refuse. I am not that forgiving type of person. So you really overall shouldn't get caught up in someone else's drama unless it's someone that you're loyal to, in which case that's a different story. Loyalty is my number one thing, and I will be loyal to a fault until someone proves they don't deserve it. So that's Twitter. Now let's look at LinkedIn. LinkedIn is kind of a different animal because it's supposed to be a business site, but once Microsoft bought it and decided that they wanted to try to turn it into a business version of Facebook, it's just gone way down. Doesn't mean that there's not still value for those of us who, like me, I'm self-employed, or someone who's at a higher level who's looking to try to find accounts or people who they can market with and maybe do business with. But there's a lot of other people who are just there to, once again, be trolls. For instance, if I post an article, maybe not me as much as some other people, but you post an article about a racial issue, there's always going to be at least one for me at some point who's going to decide to come out here and take the opposite opinion of the race thing. And my thought is, okay, why are you actually commenting on this? You don't even know me. The thing is, if someone I know decides to like it or comment on it, then other people they're connected to will see it. And I don't need to deal with those people. So what do? I block them. I block them fast. I don't need to deal with those folks. If I comment on someone else's post on there, and here come all these trolls, you know what? I block a whole bunch of trolls all at once. I just go in there, block, 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 block. I've never talked to any of those people, but I don't want to see them on this thing I've commented on or any other time in my life. Just don't want to deal with it. You can also report people. Now this one gets controversial in a way because there's been a lot of suppression by a lot of black authors who have put things on LinkedIn. You will get someone on the other side who says, you know, I don't like this. I'm just going to report them. And that's what they do. It has nothing to do with them. They shouldn't even be a part of it, but you have to deal with that. So now they suppress it. And now LinkedIn will remove it for a while. And now you have to go through hoops to try to get it back. And, you know, that's what they do. I wish they did it for the other side, but, you know, sometimes other people report them. I don't report any of those people. I just block them and move on. So you can report them, but those are the only two options you actually have on LinkedIn besides just ignoring people. And finally, let's get to Facebook. And I'm only going to talk about 3 specific things here. The first one, only connect with people you know well on Facebook. One of the mistakes a lot of people do when they first get on social media is they connect with everybody because they want to at least now get a pool of people who they're connected with. Hopefully they're people, or at least some of them are people they know, but they'll do that. They connect with all these people, and then you start to find out, oh goodness, I couldn't have trusted this person at all. Why did I connect with them? Because those are the people who are going to talk behind your back. Those are the people who are going to say stuff to Facebook about you. They're the ones who are going to copy it and, you know, do other kinds of things to you. Don't put your personal stuff out there on Facebook that is really personal, truly personal. For instance, I shared something earlier today where I was talking about buying a whole lot of supplies, paper products, because I just want to make sure that I have a bunch because the supply chain has been hard. I don't mind putting out something like that. What do I care? But if there was some other thing going on that was truly personal, it would never show up on Facebook. That's a lesson to learn, but the bigger thing is only connect with people you know well. The next thing, block people who leave negative comments on your friends' posts. Because once again, one of the things that happens is that you have friends who will allow other people they're connected to, who either they're friends or they saw the post because one of their other friends commented on it, come in and try to spoil the party. Now, ain't nobody really caring anything about what I have to say now. Before my mother passed away, a lot of people were coming in on that, but everyone had common sense not to comment negatively on something that was going on in my mother's life. They just had enough common sense not to do that. And the numbers were amazing. But sometimes, you know, you have issues. Last year, for instance, not last year, In 2020, as you got closer to the presidential election, you should have seen the stuff. If you're on Facebook, you did see the stuff. I saw less of it than a lot of other people because of the next thing that I'm going to mention. But still, occasionally I saw stuff. When I would go visit other people's page and I would see these things, like, my goodness, how are people putting out stuff like that? You know, so much hate. During COVID last year, people were just coming up with all kinds of stuff. So how do you get around that on Facebook? I'm glad you asked. On Facebook, besides blocking people, you can get basically, I'm calling it an application. I guess it's more of an add-on that you can use for both Firefox and Google Chrome, and it's called FB Purity. And basically what you do is you load that on there, and then if you go to your Facebook page, you'll see something that says FBP. And if you click on that, you will then be brought this big menu where you can decide what you want to block. I mean, it will give you a whole list of topics that you can decide to block, and it has this box where you can put stuff in that you will never see that stuff unless it comes in on a picture. So I blocked the orange guy. I've blocked a lot of politicians. I've blocked a lot of things that have to do with religion. I've blocked tons of stuff, and I never see it in my feed. There's the one time where you actually have to spell everything out. Actually, you have to do the same thing on Twitter. But you put all that stuff in there. And then you can put other things you might not want to see. For instance, I said, you know, I really don't want to see cat pictures. Okay, that sounds terrible, but I like dogs better. Hey, don't judge me. But I like dogs better. So I don't mind seeing pictures of dogs. I don't mind seeing pictures of babies. But some people don't want to see any of that stuff. They don't want to see any pictures of food. This gives you that option. It gives you a whole ton of options. Things you may not want to see in your feed. For instance, maybe you don't want to see when people have birthdays. So you can block that. I mean, there's just so much you can do with it. But the best thing, like I said, is being able to block trolls, potential bad actors, people who get on your nerve, people who talk about things you don't want to hear or see. You can block that stuff using FB Purity. By the way, just go to fbpurity.com, download it, load it up in your browser, you'll be good to go. I have lived off that for, well, I'll say at least 8 years. I think it may be longer, but I'll say at least 8 years. Anyway, that's me talking about how you can deal with trolls on social media. Overall, the best thing probably is to never engage any of those people, but you can't run away from them. They're out there. There are just groups of people whose only goal in life is to make other people miserable. And to me, if you've got to do something like that, if you have to make other people miserable to make yourself feel good, that's a horrible life. Anyway, my name is Mitch Mitchell. If you like this kind of thing, please subscribe, hit that button and think about, every time I do a post, it'll show up. Doesn't mean you have to come watch it, but that's what it's there for. And my God, this turned out to be a lot longer than I thought it would have been, but this is what I do. At least I've got timestamps. So y'all take care, and I will talk to you next time.